Spoiler alert! This video is for people who have already played Proteus and didn't understand the point, or those of you who never plan to and just want to have an explanation as to why people like this kind of walking simulator. If you plan on playing it and want to be surprised, don't watch this. Ah, walking simulators. The genre universally adored by gamers of all ages. Yes, the act of walking is satisfying and what? Wait, it's not? Walking sims are one of the more divisive genres of gaming? Oh, well damn. Well, regardless of what you think of walking simulators, and whether or not they're even video games, to me they're just like going to a museum. They're not necessarily interactive in the same way a round of paintball is. You just mostly get to walk around, look, and appreciate and interpret things around you. They're both enjoyable, just different kinds of fun. Proteus to me is like a musical museum. This is a walking simulator in which you'll explore an island over the course of the 4 seasons with random procedural elements added to the island that make each playthrough different. The aesthetic of the world is vibrant and interesting, and one of the most enjoyable parts of your tour is that the music is affected by what's around you. Certain trees add sound effects that blend perfectly with the music, bees add a buzzing element, and mysterious owls hoot their digital calls into the night. The whole island produces a multitude of interesting synth music that is really calming and enjoyable. So what exactly is the point of this? Why would anybody want to just walk around a game world and look at things? For me, halfway through the game, I began to sense the game's motif. It sounds lame, but it actually struck me somewhat deeply. The game is a metaphor for life. Now, let me back up and explain a little bit about my first playthrough to put things in context. I first played Proteus alone, in the dark, with headphones on. Naturally, this really helped with immersion. Secondly, the mood and the aesthetic of the island is extremely similar to specific calm, peaceful dreams I had throughout my life. So right away I was comforted by the dark blue sky I've dreamt of before. I'm sure it's not terribly interesting to any of you, but what I'm trying to say is that I was very, very immersed when playing. I can see how a lot of people who played this game in noisy rooms in the daytime or with friends talking and joking around you, or doing whatever else, can have this game feel really pointless and boring. If your head's not in it, the experience won't work. With that out of the way, let's explain the metaphor a bit. Please bear with me and remember this is only my interpretation and it'll obviously feel like I'm reaching for shit a lot. So excuse me while I put on my pretentious artsy-fartsy hat of analyzation. When you first start the game, your character opens their eyes only to see a vast ocean and an island off in the distance. This is your birth. As a baby, you open your eyes and you can only see a bit of what's in front of you. A newborn is extremely nearsighted and can only see 8 to 15 inches in front of them, and as they get older, their vision slowly gets to 20/20. In Proteus, your spawn point and your short walk to the island represents your infancy. Your vision is limited and foggy, and you don't get to observe much right off the bat. When you reach the island is whenever you first take your first steps for yourself, and you start exploring the world as a crawling infant or toddler. If you didn't already know, the game starts in the spring season, so surprise, surprise, this is the spring of your life. Everything is vibrant and interesting, there's a lot to see, and you learn as the player what the island has to offer. Like a giddy child, you chase frogs and rabbits and play around here and there. There are no threats because, like an infant or toddler, you aren't really conscious of what could hurt you, so you're fearless in a sense. As you navigate around, you see sights that don't make much sense, and things happen that you don't really understand. I really felt a bit like a kid again in these beginning sections because I honestly felt curious and safe, and things were really simple, feelings that every adult wished they could go back to. Now, I'm not sure if this next thing was done by design, but at the end of every day, I always found myself climbing up the only mountain on the island to see the sunset, and take a look at where I'd been. It's interesting because at the eve of each phase of your life, it's not uncommon to take a look back and reminisce. It's fun to walk around in the calm moonlight of your little island. It's really nice to soak up this peacefulness until you see something you can't just ignore. And much like learning to ride a bike or getting your driver's license, pursuing something dangling in front of you can often represent the fact that you've moved into the next phase of your life without you even knowing it. This calm and beautiful star vortex in Proteus fast forwards you to your next phase, the summer. The summer in someone's life is kind of like the ages in which you have a summer vacation, maybe even a little bit more. I haven't really fully worked out like the age ranges of each season, but the things you chase are a bit harder to catch, and these dragonflies are a symbol of that. Everything is still pretty cool and vibrant, and there are still a lot of new things to experience. Of course, now that you're older, you have things that represent danger, like these bees that chase you around and make you run like a little bitch. Even the sun represents the fact that you don't see things as simply as before. Oh, hey, look, chickens. Leave it to a young man to chase chicks, am I right? Yeah, that could be reaching a bit, but who knows. Regardless, there are more things to chase at this point in your life. Also, as you get older, you start to have a more complicated experience, like this trippy mountaintop LSD party. Maybe it means you experimented with drugs, but I'm sure this is just more of an emergence of experiencing deeper emotions as a young adult. It really is weird and beautiful just experiencing things like this in Proteus, though. When you see the starlight vortex again in the summer, you know what it means, and you may realize you want to wait a bit to go through it. Sometimes we just want to stay kids and make sure we do everything we can before moving on to the next phase of our lives. You don't want to get married yet, maybe you're putting off having kids. There are a lot of things that you put off until you're ready. There's no avoiding it though, and soon we find ourselves moving forward into autumn. The first thing you'll notice is those dragonflies. One of those new experiences you chase after in your adolescence? Yeah, those die off. You've done those things, they're boring now and dead to you. The sun is dulled, indicating that things aren't as exciting as they used to be for you. Maybe you've entered a routine, you work a full-time job and you can't do a whole lot day to day. But like the changing of the trees, things are still beautiful to you, just in a much different, maybe more complex way. Sometimes there are still things to chase, but they're fewer and far between. Now, you'll notice this sunset includes trumpets. It kind of gives you a bit of a defeated feel, right? Just listen to that. Listen to that and tell me you don't feel your midlife crisis. Yeah, you realize you're getting older, and you're gonna die someday. That day keeps getting closer and closer, right? But oh man, the night of your adulthood really kicks things up. Anxieties flare and emergencies happen. Maybe you have kids now and losing your job, or worse, losing them, could be your worst nightmare. So naturally, with all those anxieties in mind, look at what kind of shit happens at the top of this mountain. Holy fuck, did the sky turn red? Shit, what's going on? You need to get the hell out of here. Alright. Okay, that's over. Oh wait, what's this? Something neat after a traumatic event? Huh, a silver lining maybe? Oh, this is a graveyard, isn't it? In adulthood, you really start to notice that those brown things that didn't matter much when you were younger, yeah, those are graves. People die, and by now you've probably known a small graveyard worth of people who've passed on. Pretty sobering. But you've moved forward in the eve of your adulthood, and you see that there's a lot of really pretty stuff going on. But guess what? Now you're older. You may not get little day-to-day things, but you have these big things that can happen a lot more often. These bigger procedural events in the game represent some of the things that you can do in your life, like this little tower that shows the walls being built around you. The music changes to the sound of hammers, as if you're building your life, buying a home, or etc. Another interesting one is this tree of life, where even if it's night and you're surrounded by darkness, you have this place that lights up and helps you see things like you saw them before. At first, I thought these faces were creepy, but then I started to think that maybe this represents your children. These little mischievous foxes light up your world and keep you chasing them as they play around. Finally, you move into old age, the winter of your life. Now, this may seem really pessimistic, but when I think about it, at some point, a lot of the elderly feel a lot like this. Cold, alone, everything around you can remind you of death, or maybe the dead trees around you just represent the losses you've seen in your life. Most of the music is gone in the game, kind of like the quiet of an empty house. Those monolith things you ignored before now look like coffins standing around you, and the clouds permanently hang above you like the looming thought of death. Of course, not everything's terrible. There are points in which you see uplifting colors again, and music, like you're visiting children and grandchildren. There aren't really any new things for you to pursue, so there's nothing in-game to chase. What else happens as you get older? Time goes by faster. You see that damn sun? No, I'm not speeding up the video. That's how damn fast the sun moves in Proteus' winter. Shit. At this point, you don't really think you have the time to go back to do those things you got to see before, and even if you tried, the clouds make it really hard to figure out where you even are. Something I hadn't hinted at before, but I do think clouds represent confusion or uncertainty in this game since they're often low enough to obstruct your view. For the elderly, these clouds can cover everything for different reasons. They may not be able to drive to get around, or maybe they're sick and can't get around much. Once you realize it's not as easy to get around the island, you gravitate back up your mountain to get a better look at your life. You'll notice the music has kicked up a sort of calm, spiritual chant. It's really touching emotionally. After taking a look around you, you might try to go back down that mountain to try what you could do before, but now the game isn't letting you down. You don't really have control of putting off the next phase like you did before. This time, you've just got to relax, give up control, and contemplate what's going to happen next. I remember experiencing this the first time I played Proteus, and I wasn't sure if the game was glitching and not letting me go down the mountain for, a technical reason, but then I realized what was happening. This is how the end of your life can feel. The only thing you can do is just wait, listen, and think until it's over. Notice these statues? We've been kind of ignoring them up until now. But it's kind of clear at this point that these represent the people in your life. Some are scary looking, others not so much, just like the various types of people you can grow up with. But you realize at the end of your life that they're the only ones you have left, and even then, you have to leave them behind when your time runs out. Since I was anticipating the game raising me up further, I naturally walked to the highest peak, and wouldn't you know it? It's a gravestone. My own gravestone. And so, I rose from my symbolic grave like a spirit looking down at their own body, and I realized, hey, this isn't so bad. It's sad, but incredibly peaceful. There's nothing I can do about it, and to an extent, I feel fine. Ready even to leave my life. I've had my go at it, and I'm ready. As it all ends, I look down and view what's left to see. My family disappears eventually, and I look up to see what's ahead of me. Until I close my eyes for the last time. On my first playthrough, I honestly felt like I had coped with life and death. I sat at the end screen for several minutes, just peaceful. I've never meditated before, but how I felt after playing Proteus was very much what I would expect meditation to accomplish. So, walking simulators may not be great for everyone, or even under certain conditions, but this is why I am open to them, and this is why I think Proteus is indeed a piece of interactive art. It honestly moved me.